I met Jeremy in the elevator, and he was talking about wanting to hang out, being very persistent. And I was like, no, I want to go to sleep, maybe another time, thanks. And then he followed me to my apartment. And at that point, I was like, oh, he's probably just looking for a friend. He's talking about his divorce. And I said, okay, we can talk for 10 minutes, but this is not a sexual encounter. I have no interest in that, just to put that up front.
And then what happened?
And then we came in here, and we were in the kitchen, and it's a small kitchen, and so I turned around, and he's right in front of me with a dropper, and I was kind of shocked, and then it was in my mouth and under my tongue.
Squirted something in your mouth?
Yeah. And then next thing I knew, I was on the kitchen floor, and the rest of the entire time he was here, I was in a cloud of, I don't know what. It was very strange. It was like being in a bubble that you couldn't get out of.
Did he sexually attack you at that point?
Yes. He like aggressively was forcing himself on me, and I told him again, no, I'm not interested. And then it just got to the point where I was more scared of what he would do if I didn't go along with it than actually going along with it.
So you're worried that he might kill you?
I didn't know what he was capable of, and I live alone. I'm a single woman, and I just seemed at the time the best thing to do, unfortunately. The bottom line is it was never consensual, and I felt like I had no choice but to go along with it. And when I met him in the elevator, he really didn't seem like that sort of person. I, for some reason, didn't see the situation for what it was. And when I saw the story, it changed my perspective. And at first I did not want to come forward for multiple reasons, but then I decided to do it. And then when I spoke with the detectives, after that, speaking with them, I realized what it was.
You saw our story on the air about him being arrested for allegedly raping 3 women, and you thought, that's me? I'm one of those victims?
Yes, and that's when I realized that the way that I had interpreted the encounter was wrong. And seeing those women's stories validated what I always knew. And after I spoke with the detectives, I felt a release that I can't even explain. And just not knowing I was carrying that burden, because for some reason I thought it was my fault. I tried to justify it in so many different ways. It was literally, I felt 100 pounds lighter. My mind felt freer. I just never knew what had really happened. And what I really want to do is get the message, get the story out to as many people as possible, so that if they were victims, they can come forward with their stories and have the type of experience I did and be able to release that guilt and that burden.
I think it's common that rape victims feel guilty. Somehow they blame themselves, and you're here to tell people not to do that it's not your fault.
Exactly. Whether you were a victim of Jeremy's or a victim of someone else, go and tell someone. The reason I'm here is because I did not realize that I was a victim until I saw the story of the other victims. And I was carrying this guilt. I was carrying this burden with me. And seeing the stories of the other women, I decided to come forward. And after speaking to the detectives, it was literally like a huge burden was lifted off of me. And just the realization that I did not see the situation for what it truly was. I felt like somehow I had brought it on, that I was at fault, and in the end, he was a predator, and I was a victim.
Do you feel lucky that you're here, that he didn't kill you in a situation like that?
I mean, absolutely. The scariest part really was after. He was stalking me pretty much via text message and WhatsApp, and that was terrifying because I didn't know what he would possibly do. I'm not going to go into detail now, but there was a lot of things that happened that are very disturbing and that I'll be carrying with me for a long time. And that's where I feel that burden was really lifted, because I don't feel ashamed and embarrassed about some of these things because now I know that I was a victim.
You're getting emotional. You know, this has to be traumatic for you to relive this.
It really is. And I hadn't thought about the whole evening in a very long time. And more than that though, it's just that relief I feel from knowing the truth and expressing my story